My pleasure and honor to be your Master of Ceremonies for this insightful event. I'd like to draw your attention first to the screen in front of you as we present a video.
Trends. Research and Advisory was established in 2014 in Abu Dhabi as an independent think tank. It constitutes an important addition to the process of serious and well-grounded scientific research, being an integrated intellectual project that seeks to provide a deeper understanding and more accurate analysis of global issues and developments. Trends has a global vision and serves as a bridge for communication and scientific dialogue between the Middle East and the wider world. In 2016, Trends was selected as one of the world's top 10 new think tanks, according to the classification of the Think Tanks and Civil Societies Program, TTCSP, at the Lauder Institute of the University of Pennsylvania, reflecting early global recognition of Trends' credibility and the quality of its research products. This year, Trends celebrates 10 years of achievements and of recording figures that exceed planned goals and enhance its global research standing, especially since its structure and research vision was changed in late 2019. During the last 5 years, Trends has attained remarkable achievements and carried out diverse tasks that contributed to increasing its global reach. Based on its global vision, Trends is keen to expand its network of research partnerships with various research, academic, and media institutions. Trends believes that research cooperation is the way to achieve the best joint results. During the last 5 years, Trends has managed to conclude 255 cooperation and partnership agreements with research and academic institutions in 41 countries worldwide. Through these partnerships, Trends continues its solid commitment to enhancing global scientific research cooperation. Also based on its global vision, Trends set out to establish external offices in a number of countries to play a role in promoting scientific and research dialogue between Trends and global research institutions, and to support the head office with reliable research output by distinguished international researchers and academics. The Cape Town office is Trends' first physical branch to be established outside the UAE. This highlights Africa's importance in Trends' research strategy. The office will be a gateway that contributes to achieving development in Africa. Trends' offices around the world have contributed, through a network of specialized experts and academics, to providing expertise and evaluating international policies. This enables Trends to play an active role in influencing the region's future. Located in different world capitals, those offices, particularly the one in Cape Town, would allow Trends to serve as a pathway to Africa. This would enhance Trends' global reach and influence and increase its visibility as a major contributor to global dialogue. They will also facilitate Trends' exchange of knowledge and experiences with the world's leading academic and research minds.
Thank you for watching. Today's panel discussion will delve into the evolving relationship between artificial intelligence and management education, offering thought-provoking insights into human-machine interaction and its potential to transform how we approach education in the digital age. Our esteemed speakers will bring their expertise to this timely and critical topic, helping us explore how AI can be leveraged in management education for enhanced decision-making efficiency, and innovation. We will now move forward with the agenda. Each of our distinguished speaker will present their insights, followed by a Q&A session, where we encourage you to share your thoughts and questions. We will now, first, let me introduce our moderator, Ms. Mira Zaabi, a dedicated researcher and media specialist at Trends Research and Advisory, who will guide us through this session. Ms. Mira, please come to the floor. Our first speaker, Professor Stewart Clegg from the School of Project Management at the University of Sydney, will share his expertise on the integration of AI in management education. We welcome you, Professor, to Trends Research and Advisory. Following that, we will hear from Ms. Elyazia Hosani, researcher and head of the Media Communications Department at Trends Research and Advisory, who will provide her perspective in shaping human-machine interaction in the educational sphere. After the presentation, After the presentation, we will open the floor for a Q&A session, offering you the opportunity to engage directly with our speakers. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our moderator, Ms. Mira, to begin the session.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's panel discussion. My name is Mira Zaabi, and I'm a researcher at Trends Research and Advisory. It's my pleasure to moderate this session today that will focus on artificial intelligence and management education, a look at human versus machine interaction. As AI continues to develop, it has played a huge role throughout many fields, and education is no exception. Today, we will explore how artificial intelligence, in particular model ChatGPT-4, is reshaping management education. These powerful technologies are not just tools to enhance or automate tasks, they're enhancing creativity, personalizing learning experiences, and allowing educators to reimagine their roles in ways that were considered once a futuristic one. In our discussion, we'll delve into the potential of AI to support human expertise and streamline decision processes and foster innovation in academic environments. Today, I am joined by Professor Stewart Clegg from the School of Project Management. Professor Clegg's research highlights how AI works with human expertise to automate tasks, boost creativity, and reshape educators' role. He also touches on some of the ethical questions that revolves around AI's future in research. Our other speaker, Elyazia Hosani, a researcher and head of media communication at Trends. I'm excited to hear their insightful. I'm excited to hear their insights as we explore the future of AI in management education. Each speaker will have 10 minutes to present, followed by a Q&A session. Professor Clegg, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed. How do I get the slides up? Are they behind me already? Oh, fabulous. And this one advances it. Terrific. Okay, so I thought I'd begin with something which might seem rather strange to talk about artificial intelligence, and that's to talk about one of the great human intelligences of the past, Immanuel Kant. And Immanuel Kant, at the beginning of his book on metaphysics, said, "Human reason so delights in constructions that it has several times built up a tower and then raised it to examine the nature of the foundation. It's never too late to become wise, but if the change comes late, there's always more difficulty in starting a reform." Well, we're right at the foundations of AI, and I think it's a good time to have a look at these foundations and to think about where we might go next. So what's the paper about? I want to suggest that there are extremes that we can avoid. I want to avoid the extremes of either techno-utopia. Oh, thank you very much. That helps greatly. I want to avoid the extremes of either techno-utopia or techno-dystopia. And these have dominated a lot of the discussion of AI so far. In the academic literature that I'm familiar with, I've read papers which say we should abolish it, students shouldn't be allowed to use it, universities should be policing it, journal editors saying We won't accept anything which has been produced with an AI component. Some journals are a little bit more open. They say, as long as you make very clear and explicit what it is that the AI has done. There's clearly a lot of chaos and confusion around what AI can or cannot contribute at the present time. So I want to dissect the nuanced technologies, the nuanced dynamics between AI and management education. I want to look at both the empowering prospects and the existential threats that are posed to the traditional role of educators and scholars. I think the most important thing is that we can't put AI back into a box and behave as if it were not there. It's now a social fact, and we have to work with that. So I want to look at the relations between actants and actors. Actants are machines. They may not be machines. They could be animals. They could be viruses. The COVID virus was an incredibly powerful actant in recent history. Well, AI is going to be a very, very powerful actant in immediately future history. But it will be an actant which is working with human actors like ourselves, and we have one capability that the actant doesn't have. We can make sense. We're sense-making machines. But better than that, we're sense-making humans. And as humans, we can transcend what machines can do. I want to use an ideal type framework, which I take from the work of the great sociologist Max Weber. Ideal types are not about representing or corresponding to reality, but by artificially accentuating some features in order to be able to discuss them more analytically. So I shall do that in the course of the presentation. So what are the issues? What are the issues with AI? AI poses some fundamental ethical questions, at the center of which is the paradox of whose work the product is when it's machine produced. What's the role of the machine? What's the role of the human agent? How do these interact together? Can the authenticity of the individual author of meaning be sustained in a world in which, if I improvise from Walter Benjamin, the art of digital reproduction is paramount? Benjamin wrote about art in the age of mechanical reproduction. Well, we've transcended that. We live in the age of digital reproduction now. And so what is the role of the authorial voice? What is the author? Roland Barthes, the great French intellectual from the last century, spoke about the death of the author. Does the rise of AI point to the death of the author? Do we need authors anymore if AI can author what it is that we want to read? So the adoption of AI technologies in management education has to be approached with a comprehensive understanding of the ethical, the economic, and environmental considerations to ensure sustainable and responsible use, creating credibility that's premised on legitimate authenticity. Now, human actors and machine actants are different. Human elaboration differs from machine generation of text. Computers can outperform humans, and their machine learning is based on making predictions. AI is essentially a predictive apparatus. It scans with incredible speed a vast amount of big data and will make predictions based upon that. While GPT-4 can learn and perform by ranging over this enormous quantity of data, and a quantity of data that's way beyond the human potential of anybody on the planet, it can use it to identify and understand trends and patterns and make trends and patterns from such data, but it cannot make ethical judgments. Plausible accounts can be generated that lack truth value in the references assembled. Arguments that are unattributed may be incorporated. Now, human scholars and ANLP models work differently, but they're going to have to learn to work together relatedly in a symbiotic manner. So the way I think about it is shown through this ideal typification. If I can point to the screen, we can think about the development of an orientation in education which is highly oriented to theory, or is more oriented to practice and not so concerned about the theory. We can think about the level of human involvement, where the human involvement is relatively low through to high human involvement. And if we do that, excuse me, please, if we do that, we arrive at four ideal typical frames. We have one which is high theory but low human involvement, in which is AI dominant. And we can probably expect to see this emerging mostly in the areas of science which is based upon metrics. In engineering science, in physical sciences, in chemical science, in the natural sciences. Because AI will be able to do things far more quickly with far more data than humans can. With fairly low theory and practical orientation and low human involvement, we'll be looking at something like machine artisanship, where the machine really is tended by the human who uses it as an adjunct device. So, for instance, in university education, tutors may be using AI as an ancillary tool. Students may be using it as an ancillary tool for the work they do. I'll come back to that one later. Then we have the human dominant, which is high theory and high human involvement. And this is the area of elite scholarly knowledge. And yes, AI may have a role to play in that, but the role is probably not going to be as dominant as in the AI dominant zone. It will really depend upon the human being dominant. And then, of course, low theory and high human involvement, we have a machine-human symbiosis. Okay, so that sets up the framework. Let's have a look at the four quadrants in a bit more detail. So the conceptual framework rests on the interplay between the degree of human and machine involvement and the orientation of knowledge, theory versus practice. So the varying roles of human scholars and of ANLP models in different types of management, research, and education activities can be specified. We can assign the unique names to the four quadrants, which I've done, and we can say each of these four quadrants represents relatively different engagements between machines and humans. So I want now to look at each one of them in turn. In the AI dominant quadrant, ANLP models have the capacity to be AI dominant in their sense-making by analyzing vast amounts of information intelligently, whether it's expressed alphabetically or numerically. Deeper insights, more comprehensive literature reviews, the identification of novel patterns and trends in organizational processes and behavior could ensue through using AI in this way. So the analytic power of ANLP models might enhance the rigor and relevance of management, potentially addressing some criticisms about its lack of real-world impact. But uppermost, however, will be how to be open, how to be critical and reflexive about the knowledge we, the machine and I, the machine and you, the machine and the human being, produce while retaining, acting on our faith in its validity and value. And our faith in its validity and value is crucially important, because when faith enters scientific production, which it must in AI-dominant models, paradoxes of rationality cannot be too far behind. And we're all familiar, I'm sure, with the hallucinatory effects that AI can have when we use it, because we don't have much control over the mass of data which is included in that which it searches. So all sorts of highly legitimate material may comprise that pool of material, but all sorts of fairly speculative material can also comprise that pool of material, and the machine can't really tell the difference between them. So the model of AI artisanship is one that involves translating more complex knowledge for consumption by students and practitioners that require theory and accessible knowledge updates. And this is a really practical thing. I mean, I can assume that a student facing a particular topic that they have to address may well use AI in an artisanal way. I think what becomes important here is how the students do so, because you don't want the student to just say, okay, get the AI to write it for me. I've seen some material that students have submitted where this is the case, and you can spot it from a mile off. Partially, you see it through vocabulary. There are certain key words that seem to always be evoked in this. Delve, for instance. The students are always delving into things. Often students who probably don't know what the word delve is about, but it pops up in their AI prose. What's really important is, I think, to get the students thinking critically about whatever it is that the AI produces. So the AI isn't doing the work, it's producing the material on which the critical work has to be done. So the artisanal applications, the more they rely on decisive digital devices, the more they invite criticality on the part of those reading the output. And at the moment, I think this message hasn't really got across in all the universities. It's more of a panic about AI-generated essays, AI-generated topics being presented. We're not going to stop that. What we have to do is to try and change the orientation to what it is that the AI produces. So guidelines and expectations for assignments must communicate the consequences of academic dishonesty. They should strive to minimize this by preparing assignments that require critical thinking and student creativity, which cannot easily be produced by language models. So, you might ask the students to produce some prompts. They tell you what the prompts are. You read the material that the prompts has produced in AI, and then you say to the students, now on the basis of your wider reading in the literature, can you provide a critical evaluation of the AI model and what the AI model produces? I need to, yeah, it's got stuck, hasn't it? Okay, can you just take it on? I'll work from there. So the AI-human symbiosis model, yeah, switch it off and switch it on. No, it seems to be stuck. Never mind. This is the trouble. You rely on your devices, and your devices let you down. Yeah, it's in the Dropbox. I can't work from there. I'll stand up. It's going to be easier for me to talk that way. Okay, so the AI-human symbiosis. This is a key sense-making process, is a problem formulation, as well as the coherent integration of ideas into the larger body of knowledge. But you can't ask AI to think critically. It doesn't do that. That's not what AI does. You'll have a very low probability of success. Machines don't make imaginative leaps. What they do is read a whole stack of stuff and then make predictions premised on that. So intuitive leaps that seize a metaphor from one discourse and apply it to another, as so many innovations in management thinking have done in the past. I think of colleagues who've founded approaches like population ecology, which they take the metaphors out of biology. They start to think about the way that organizations populate the world. A machine couldn't do that. That needs sense-making. It requires a certain human facility. I think about my friend Gareth Morgan's book on metaphors of organizations. All of those different metaphors would not be produced by machine learning. So we need to make a distinction, which we need to accept a distinction that was made by the great Jim March, a very famous American behavioral scientist and organization theorist. And he talked about the necessity for management education to include both the plumbing and the poetics. The plumbing, because you need to know how to do things, but the poetics, you need to be able to speculate why and how you're doing those things in that way, and to do so artfully, aesthetically, and creatively. Could we move on? So in human-dominant AI, there'll be sense-making on the part of a selected few exceptional human-authored papers that synergistically leverage the analytical capabilities of ANLP models. I can see it being very, very useful in terms of the kind of paper that gets published, which is a review of the literature to date. You could write one of those papers using ChatGPT, and using a lot of human discretion. And it would involve a lot of human discretion because a lot of what would be generated would not necessarily be relevant. But it would enable the unique genius of human scholars to identify areas of focus, to ask the right questions, and to refine whatever it is that the machine is capable of generating. But that means that the educators who are using that machine intelligence have themselves to have a great deal of sophisticated and cultivated knowledge, because it's only the possession of that which will enable them to be able to make accurate and appropriate judgments about the relevance and utility of what it is that the machine puts before them. A machine at present is unable to define a problem of either theory or practice innovatively, and in minimizing the machine in the authorial we, the paradox of performance is uppermost. How to balance digital output with critical intelligence in the stories we tell and the performances we give. And of course, this is absolutely critical for doctoral students. I hope I never have to read a doctoral thesis that's been produced by AI. I suspect I probably will one day, but I hope not. Can we move on to the next one, please? Thank you. So what are some of the issues that arise? Well, we can think about the way in which some part of the research and teaching program in university management education might shift from being creators to prompters. The role of human scholars in the research process may shift from being creators to prompters. And so this, I think, is an important consideration. We don't just want to know what the output is, we really want to know what the prompts were that created the output, because there will be the real intelligence will be asking the right kind of prompts. And if we don't know what that is, we're not in a position to judge the output. Doing it this way, GPT-4 could serve as a virtual teaching assistant. It would reduce instructors' workloads. It would allow for more dedication to less routine tasks. Curriculum design could be accelerated as GPT-4 devises assessment strategies and teaching methods. And students would, and this is very important, students would learn digital literacy as part of whatever degree they were, or diploma or postgraduate qualification they were doing. And that digital literacy is going to be absolutely essential to their future careers in the workforce. So I think there's some positives come out of that one. Can we move on again, please? Oh, we have. Thank you very much. So there's the death of the author. Traditional notions of academic integrity haven't fully reckoned with the death of the author in the digital world, a world that Roland Barthes could not have foreseen when he discussed that outcome. Can AI really kill the authorial star? Do you remember that song, Has Radio Killed the Video Star? No, Has Video Killed the Radio Star? That's right, I had that in mind when I wrote that sentence. Can AI really kill the authorial star? Is the death of the author such a bad thing? Perhaps not, given the quality of prose in much management research that is published. I have read probably hundreds of thousands of academic articles in my long life. And there's quite a lot of them I wish I never had to read because they're so badly written. You would hope that maybe a machine would do a better job of writing them than some of the garbled prose that one has had to read. But questions of authenticity are obviously going to be paramount because surveillance of output will strive to keep up with opportunities for deceit. And the opportunities for deceit are innumerable. I was saying to Miguel before I came in here, we were discussing AI, and I mentioned the role of predatory journals. About every day, I get something like 8 or 10 requests from journals to submit something to them, often in areas in which I have absolutely no competence or knowledge. And it's very clear, if you ever look at some of these journals which are on the Beale's list of predatory journals, that some of the stuff that is in there is machine generated, and it's sort of rubbish in, rubbish out, and it does nobody any good. I mean, well, I suppose it's a business model for the people that run the journals, but it's not going to do the careers of the scholars who produce it much good. Can we move on again? Thank you. So AI and the theory for practice. So work that has progressed through rigorous review processes of a journal needn't stay confined to the relatively small readers of that journal. I would envisage that in the future, high-quality journals like an Academy of Management journal or an Administrative Science Quarterly might have an adjunct web page in which there are machine-generated versions précising and simplifying a complex argument, which practitioners who were interested in, say they were interested in, I wrote a paper recently on toxic cultures in the construction industry. So they might be interested in how to improve the culture of the construction industry, but they don't want to go through 8,000 words to find out. But in a 1,000 digest, which is machine generated, they're able to do so. And this would both broaden the audience for what's produced in the journals and broaden the impact of the authors who were publishing in those journals. So I think this could be a very positive outcome. So to encapsulate this, I wrote, machine translation can aid the plumbing for the plebs while preserving the poetry for the theoretical elites. So, the elites can read the long prose version, but if what you really need is a digest to help you in practice and to find out whether it's worth reading this thing, then the machine version may be helpful. So, theory papers and digital cousins. So, this is basically an extension of the previous point. We talk about digital twins in project management a lot these days, where there's a digital twin for the buildings, the infrastructure that's being produced. Maybe we should have digital cousins in the publishing realm, where there are family resemblances between that which is practitioner-oriented and machine-generated, and that which is authorially sourced. So can we use this to bridge the theory-practice gap, which is often a source of angst and much discussion in the management literature? Well, I think there's a possibilities. I think it's certainly worth thinking about. May we move on, please? So ethics in the classroom. There's a major risk in artisanal applications in education. They could be the basis for a tempting strategy in which administrators and deans seek to reduce costs. Career opportunities for newly minted PhDs could be diminished. Professional and union bodies are going to require eternal vigilance against this possibility, especially after experiences during the pandemic, in which many university administrations did not let a good crisis go to waste in terms of reducing headcount. And inspired by that reduction in headcount that occurred during the pandemic, they may well be thinking about the ways in which AI can further trim the costs of running universities. Australian universities now, in some of them, employ many more administrators than they do academics. And amongst the academics that they employ, something like 70% of them are on contract, not on tenure. So given that labor, the cost of human labor, is the biggest variable in the accounting of university administration, you can imagine that there will be some interest in reducing those costs through using AI. So AI could have some very detrimental effects on career opportunities. So we move on. So ethics and sustainability. Most of what AI presently scrutinizes is probably not the right verb, sweeps probably would be a better word, tends to be in the English language. So languages other than English may well be marginalized by the dominance of AI. Training natural language models involves considerable consumption of energy. I read in the newspaper, the FT, yesterday or the day before, that one of the big AI companies in the United States is thinking of recommissioning the 3 Mile Island nuclear power station in order to use it purely to produce the energy to drive the machinery of AI. This has really important implications for the transition to sustainability, because when we make that transition, are we going to have enough batteries in storage to be able to sustain the kind of inputs that of energy that large AI data banks require or not. So we need to think about some of those ethical issues as well. There's also, of course, the ethical question that smart machines that are not very well curated can produce sense based on any text that they consider. And there's no inbuilt discrimination filters selectively and positively negating extreme expressions of intolerance, stereotyping, bias, and falsehood. And doing that requires a human sensibility, a human sense-making, able to appreciate and respond to the complexity of social life, its antagonisms, its sensitivities, its ethics. In short, a person capable of exercising complex intellectual, social, political, and ethical intelligence. And we cannot rely on the machines to do that. If you could, please. So I began with a quote from Kant. I thought I would end with one. In the second preface to the Critique of Pure Reason, Kant compares his critical philosophy to Copernicus's revolution in astronomy, insofar as objects must conform to our knowledge. Copernicus was important because he changed a view of the world that was centered on the Earth as the center of the planetary system to the realization that this little rock was just one of many planets that the sun warmed. It was the major revolution in astronomy. In other words, he situated cognitive faculties, what modern management scholars would refer to as sense-making, as key to structuring what can be known. So Kant is telling us that it's the human knower, the scholar, that constitutes the known world. It's their capacity that is critical. So we are all sense-makers. We're not mere fishers, receivers, or givers of knowledge, but it's creators. And AI can be one of the many tools that we use, but we must use it rather than being used by it. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Professor Clegg. That was very insightful and very knowledgeable. Thank you so much. Elyazia, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'd like to start off my speech on a personal story. I didn't sleep last night because I was thinking about all the emergence of technology and AI and all of that. I was like, when did I become so dumb? I'm respectfully saying this to myself. And I'm just like, when was the last time I actually researched? And I started off my career as a researcher, but then I shifted my career to media. And why did I do that? Why didn't I like to research anymore? Because I was dumb or lazy. So I thought even deeper about it, and I thought about when did it start? So at school, my school actually focused on writing. So I had like this class where it was for an hour and a half, and I had to write a 2,000-word essay in an hour and a half. And we were tested like that. And it actually like developed my writing skills. But where did I become so dumb? I think it started when I started going to uni. And I was exposed to all these AI tools and everything. So I was in English class at university, and I was sitting next to this girl, and we had to paraphrase this long essay. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't have an hour to paraphrase it because I have to read it, understand it, break it down, and then paraphrase it. And she's like, what? There's this tool called paraphrasing tool. And it can do it in like 5 minutes. I'm like, what? And she's like, yes, try it. So I did try it. And I'm just like, but it looks weird. It sounds weird. Something is off about it. And she's like, just submit it. I'm like, okay. So I just submit it. And she's like, and guess what? Safe Sign cannot catch that you used paraphrasing tool. I'm like, okay. So I had a different class where it was an anthropology class, and I was expected to write a 25-page research paper, and I had to study this environment. And the environment was a library, and I chose this library because it was the biggest library in the Middle East, and it is in the UAE. So I walked into the library, and I'm just like, why is it so confidential? And I kind of got scared because it being confidential, I couldn't find it online. And me not finding it online means that I had to research about it. And no AI tool can help me actually write it. So I found myself actually writing the 25-page article. And then when I started diving in more last night, I'm just like, when did I start using ChatGPT? Who introduced it to me? And my youngest team member introduced it to me a few months ago, and they were taking their master's class, and they were like, oh my God, Yas, guess what? I'm like, what? And they're like, I did my assignment yesterday in like 5 minutes. I'm like, what? How? They're like, ChatGPT. I'm like, no way. And there's like, I'm sure they're going to come up with this different tool other than Safe Assign that would actually catch that AI language. I don't remember the last time I went throughout a whole day without using ChatGPT. So I asked last night, I asked ChatGPT, what do you know about me? And it said accurate information about me, what I do, what I actually like ask it to do for me, how I feel, what I do in my daily life, what my occupation is, and what I'm specialized in. So I was kind of scared. So sometimes I would actually test ChatGPT. I would send this paragraph to a translator, but actually test it through ChatGPT and see if they correspond to one another. And I'm just like, okay, now I'm scared. Would ChatGPT one day overcome my occupation? Will I not be a researcher? Will I not be the head of the media sector? Will I have to shift my career from media to AI? And how will I be able to do that? So it was kind of scary last night because is AI the product or am I the product of AI? And am I becoming dumb in all of this pool of technology information, or am I becoming lazy, or am I losing patience in researching? So when I actually think about it even more, I studied international relations at university, and so we would sit in a debate team and think about different theories. We'd push and pull. My theory is right, no, your theory is right, and like we had to support it. But now, using ChatGPT, we're all identical. There's one specific theory that we're all pushing through because that theory is introduced by ChatGPT that we now trust or think is right, or because we're too lazy now to learn other theories or be supported by other theories. So I had to start off my speech today with that, but like I'm gonna have to read the original speech I wrote. So as a researcher and someone deeply engaged in the intersection of media education and technology, I find myself both fascinated and driven by the rapid advancement in artificial intelligence. In particular, I'm drawn to the impact of AI and how it has on management, education, how it reshapes the way we approach human-machine interaction. Today, I want to explore how AI is becoming a key player in management education, transforming not just what we learn, but how we learn it, and the evolving relationship between human intellect and machine capabilities. So basically, I'm going to touch point on the role of AI in management education. Management education has traditionally been rooted in real-world experiences, human judgment, and the honing of leadership qualities. However, as AI becomes more integrated into educational settings, it is enhancing these elements in ways we once only imagined. AI can analyze vast amounts of data in real time, provide tailored feedback, and even simulate complex business environments. It enables students to practice decision-making in scenarios that were once confined to textbooks. Moreover, AI's ability to learn and adapt allows for highly personalized education with systems that track each student's progress, adjust to their learning pace, and provide targeted support. And here I want to bring another example. I was introduced by this robot called Moxie, and I keep bringing it as an example because I'm very much fascinated by this small, cheap robot that now parents trust their children with. So basically, I was on TikTok a few months ago, and I was looking for different machines that I can bring onto the table to like engage children more on this field of scientific research. And I came across this robot called Moxie, and it's developed in the US, and it's very cheap compared to other robots we purchased throughout the years. So I was actually amazed by it and studied it even more. And this robot was constructed for autistic children. And because parents in the US could not afford therapists or take them to like schools that were specialized for special needs, they would buy this robot. But can you actually trust your child with this robot? Do you actually know what this robot is telling or teaching your child? Does it have the right to build or reconstruct their identity, their morals, their values? Because one thing AI lacks is empathy. It cannot study empathy. I don't think we're even near constructing an AI tool that actually embeds empathy within it. But AI is more than just a tool. Like I said, it's a collaborator, one that doesn't seek to replace human educators, but also work alongside with them, providing them with insights and tools that evaluate the learning experiences. In management education, This partnership can foster deeper understanding to both strategy and people's management, critical components of leadership. So in this new area, the relationship between humans and machines is evolving from one of control and command to one of collaboration. In management education, AI can become an extension to the decision maker, offering real-time insights, historical data, and predictive analytics that allow for one more accurate forecasting, better crisis management, but also a more nuanced understanding of complex global issues. So I talked about empathy, and now I want to touch base on why empathy is important in the tech-driven era. So it's easy to get caught up in the marvels of technology and forget the human element. But empathy will always be at the heart of leadership. And if you actually start realizing, when you ask ChatGPT, I personally, when I ask ChatGPT to do something, I would tell it, add a hook in the beginning, please add sympathy, please add empathy, something that could attract the audience more to my speech. And it never actually succeeded in doing so. You have to have this human touch to it, because what makes me human is this, and what makes us all connected one way or another is that we all resonate, or we all go through these experiences that make us find a common ground or commonality that makes us feel for each other. So I believe the success of AI integration management education depends on our ability to balance the efficiency of machines with the irreplaceable qualities of human connection. Leadership, after all, is not just about managing resources, it's about understanding people. This is something AI will never fully replace, no matter how advanced it becomes, in my opinion. So what does this mean for the future of management education? I'm going to focus on three things. First, it means that we must integrate AI into the curriculum, not as a technical skill, but as a tool for enhancing leadership and decision-making. But not depend on it fully, of course. So future managers will need to understand not only how AI works, but also how to work with AI, and how to question its insights, collaborate with it, and when necessary, even challenge it. Second, it means fostering a culture of lifelong learning. AI is evolving rapidly, and what we teach today may be outdated even tomorrow. So we must equip future leaders with the skills to adapt to these changing landscapes and encourage curiosity, critical thinking, and a willingness to embrace new technologies. And lastly, we must prioritize ethics in AI. Just because a machine can do something doesn't mean it should. So as we move forward, the question isn't whether AI will transform management education, because honestly, it already did. The question is how we as educators, researchers, or even the leaders of tomorrow can guide the transformation to ensure its benefits both students, society, and as a whole. So the future of management education lies in understanding the synergy between human creativity and AI's computation power. It's about preparing students not only to work with AI, but lead in a world where human-machine interaction is the new normal. And most importantly, it's about fostering a leadership style grounded in empathy, ethics, and adaptivity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Clegg and Elyazia, for this insightful and thought-provoking session. Before we proceed, I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions.
Thank you, Elyazia and Professor Stewart. I have a question for Professor Stewart. Recently, there's been a lot of speculation and panic about certain AI tools displaying human-like qualities. So, for example, the hallucinations that you mentioned earlier, people are noticing that when they're writing a command for ChatGPT in a rude or impolite way, the response is sometimes showing, having hallucinations, versus when they're speaking or inputting to ChatGPT in a polite way, it's responding more, the response is more accurate. Why and how do you think this is happening? And do you think that we're going to be seeing more human-like characteristics in AI tools?
Oh, that's a nice question. I have a friend. She was a senior lecturer at a university in Hong Kong. She's actually the mother of somebody who's a famous British politician these days, or he's an ex-politician now. And one of the things about Sally is that she is extremely polite. Even when she's talking to her staff, she'll say things like, "Would you mind awfully, Raoul, taking me into town?" Now, she is extraordinarily polite. Sometimes when my wife wants me to do something and I'm being a little recalcitrant, she'll ironicize it by saying, "Would you mind awfully, Stuart?" So, we can teach norms, certainly, because we can teach the norm that if we couch something in a particular formulaic manner, and that is a little formulaic, she's an employer talking to an employee. Of course, Raoul is going to take her into town, but she asks the question in such a way as if there were an option at the end of it. There is no option. I mean, Raoul's going to do what Sally says. No reason why we can't teach machines to behave in the same sort of way, so that if there's not a please or some key words or would you mind or is it possible, the machine will say, machine says no, computer says no. So yes, I mean, but is that empathetic? No, I don't think so. I think that's simply taking some of the norms of human society and embedding them, imputing them into the machine. And yes, that would be better than a rude machine. I think that's I like the nice distinction between a rude machine and a polite machine. Thank you. Lovely question.
Professor Clegg, for your insightful answer, which brings me to my next question. What do you think are the negative aspects of these models that could shift human scholars' roles from creators to prompters?
Well, I think I covered them in the talk. The negative connotation is if the machine becomes not so much an adjunct but a substitute for the energy and the creativity that human scholars and human students can develop. So as educators, we have to try to construct curriculum and questions and assignments in such a way that we outwit the ingenuity of the student in relying on the machine. We have to construct our assignments in such a way that we don't just mark what the machine produces. We want to know what the prompts were that went into producing it. Then we want to look at the critical evaluation of what the machine has produced, which is sourced from the text that we find in the library, from the books that we can pull out of the library, from the journal articles that we can pull out of the library, from the experience of the student themselves as somebody engaged in practice. So I think we're at a very, very early stage. And at the early stage in any new technology, there will be a certain there's a learning curve, and early in the learning curve, there's huge anticipation. It's quite possible that before too long, there'll be a collapse of some shares in some of the AI-related industries and companies, because all the expectations that are being piled onto AI are unlikely to be met. So there'll be a stock take. There'll be some reckoning, and I think once we've worked out the reckoning and we've worked out how to use the technology, technologies have to be curated by people. When motor cars were first invented, there was a very, very long period, over several years, of exhibits, and the origins of things like motor racing were in terms of manufacturers having competitions between different vehicles. And these were there not just for the sport, for the race, but to educate the public about what these machines were. I mean, they didn't go very fast, but it was a way of educating the public. So that quite rapidly people evolved from insisting that a man with a red flag should walk in front of the car to alert people that this beast of a machine was coming, to the facility with which we all drive today. I think AI will be somewhat similar.
Interesting. Which brings me to my final question to you, Professor Clegg. How might the commercial purposes of natural language learning software affect research outcomes and researcher trends?
Well, they are already. I mean, I followed with interest earlier this year a number of editorials in management journals, the British Journal of Management, the International, I've just published a paper on AI in the International Journal of Project Management, and editors are grappling with what to do, and there's a range of approaches. I mean, some journal editors basically have a policy which is we won't admit anything which has been written with the assistance of AI. Others are more procedural. They have a set of policies which have to be adhered to in using AI. In many ways, AI only enhances what we already do. I mean, when I'm writing an article, I go to Google Scholar, I put in the keywords, and the important thing is I know which are the keywords that I should be putting in there. And I do a search, and then I look through, I set some parameters. I find out what gets to be cited most. I find out what's been cited most recently, and I identify which is cited in journals that I trust and respect. Now, all of those things involve human creativity, human judgment. The machine can't do that. The machine can't say, this journal is rubbish and that journal is not, because it isn't discriminatory in that respect. And this is the major problem that we face with AI, hence the importance of setting up tasks that use it in which human discrimination is significant and important, because it's only through the discriminatory use, the use of AI in a way that matters in terms of human creativity and intelligence, that it will really be a benefit to us. If it substitutes for that, I think we'll end up with a lot of essays, very short on references and much use of people delving into things. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Clegg. Elyazia, I have a question for you before we wrap up this session. Do you think that the development and increasing reliance on artificial intelligence programs and research and education might lead to the marginalization of other languages or a decline in the priority of learning them?
I think Professor Clegg touched base on this during his presentation, but let me talk more about the things I face when it comes to translating one paragraph from one language to another during my, let's say, working hours. So basically, I take care of the media at Trans Research and Advisory, and the main language is Arabic, but we try to basically reflect every single thing that we post from Arabic to English. And a couple of days ago, one of my colleagues sent me at 1 a.m. and she's like, Yaz, I need your help. One of your editors is asleep and not answering. And I'm just like, obviously it's 1 a.m. And then she's like, I need you to help me with something. I'm like, what? And keep in mind, I'm very weak in Arabic. Okay, so like the real Arabic, لغة فصحى. Do you know what I mean? So she's like, I have this video of a woman speaking, but her accent is Emirati. And we all know that every country has a different accent. And she's like, I don't know how to shift the Emirati language to the original Arabic language. And I'm just like, what do you mean? And she's like, can you help me? I'm like, I think you're asking the wrong person at 1 a.m. And I'm like, well, I can try. Do you have it written as an Emirati thing? She's like, yeah. So I'm just like, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT. And I'm just like, I took it and I asked ChatGPT, can you please edit this, make it formal, in the formal Arabic language. And it did it for me in like 5 seconds. And it was crazy. So I sent it back to her. I'm like, does this look good? She's like, are you sure you're bad in Arabic? I'm like, I don't think ChatGPT is. And then she's like, what? I'm like, yep, ChatGPT did that. And she's like, okay, can it translate it to English? Because I don't think there's anyone awake at 1 a.m. I'm like, yeah, give me a sec. So I translated it in English, but then again, you had to tweak it up a little bit. So the translation isn't always accurate as we think it is. The human touch does make, like, it's more formal. It looks like something's off about it, so you have to actually like tweak it up as a human. But yeah, most of the time, it 100% does the job for me. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Elyazia.
Thank
That
you.
answers my question thoroughly. So as we wrap up this session, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Professor Stewart Clegg for sharing his invaluable expertise and thought-provoking ideas. Your perspective on AI and its impact on management education will leave a lasting impression on all of us. Thank you, everyone, thank you to everyone who attended today's panel discussion. Let's continue these important topics as we navigate the exciting future of AI and its integration into our world. Thank you.
Distinguished moderator, panelists, and audience member, thank you for your valuable contributions and participation today. The discussion have been enriching and have provided us with a deeper understanding of the intersection between AI and management education. I trust that today's dialogue will inspire future research and collaboration as we continue in this evolving landscape. With that, we have reached the conclusion of our event, and on behalf of Trends Research and Advisory, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to all participants and attendees. Thank you for your engagement, and we wish you a wonderful rest of your day. But before that, I would like to ask you to remain on stage. Thank you, everyone, for being with us here today.